when you discuss matters of import on broadcasting areas like radio, like television, we here, of course, at Talk Radio are not just a radio station. We're also a television station. We're out there live streaming right now on YouTube. We're also live streaming on Twitter. You sometimes get yourself into controversial situations. Piers Morgan is an old friend of mine. I used to work with him. He was my boss. He came in here last October, in fact, to do an interview around his new book, which was all about the wokeists and how they were taking over Britain and taking over the world. And it was his battle against the wokeists, which was going to be the future. Now, it turns out that as a result of the wokeists, he has now been effectively cancelled. He hasn't really been cancelled because Piers Morgan cannot be cancelled. He basically quit the ITV Good Morning Britain show yesterday. I think in a lot of people's minds that will mean that Good Morning Britain will not be so much of a good morning anymore. It'll be pretty much of a bad morning Britain because they won't be able to replace Piers Morgan. And as he's just said himself, they managed to beat BBC Breakfast in the ratings war for the first time ever yesterday. His words: "My work is done." Well, now he's going to go and do his work somewhere else. ITV probably, we think, were asking him to apologise for comments that he made about the mental state of Meghan Markle. He made those comments, in my view, because he thought that that was what was the case, and he wanted to communicate that to his listeners. Now, you may disagree with him. It may be that he was wrong to say that. I would not have said what he said, but then I'm not Piers Morgan. As I pointed out to him, he gets paid an awful lot more money than I do, unfortunately. But there we are. The point about the way that we are now constructing our conversations is this. I think we have to be extremely careful about what we regard as a no-go area for conversation, for debate and for discussion. Because if we start drawing lines around things and we start saying that you can't say this and you can't say that and you can't question this person and you can't question that person, then we start to get into some very dangerous territory. I would just say this: free speech is free speech. There are consequences to it. Of course there are. If you say something which you shouldn't say and libel someone, you can be sued. If you say something which invokes a criminal act, you can also be prosecuted. We already have laws in place for that. But I think if we have to start telling people that they can't talk about certain things, it starts to get incredibly difficult, and free speech is very much at risk. And I don't think that's a place where any of us want to go. It's all rather depressing, isn't it?
Well, you could make it that way. I mean, depression is irrational grief without any cause for it. I think that I accepted some time ago that the people of most formerly free countries had decided that they were going to agree to move into this new era in which they grant far greater powers than ever before to their governments over their lives in return for what they believe to be safety. There is no limit to this, as we see. As you rightly point out, there's extremely thin evidence. There's nothing to be worried about this variant. And if you remember, I think we first discussed the likely appearance of new variants when we were having this discussion with each other more than a year ago. Yeah. I said there will keep being new variants whenever the thing slackens off. This will be, because the thing about them is that they immediately increase the amount of unknowing. People think, oh, a new variant, we don't know anything about that, we have to take precautions. Now, I've got nothing against the attempts to restrict travel from the countries where this variant is, in case it turns out to be serious. That's a reasonable thing to do. I might personally think it an overreaction, but I'm not going to argue very hard against it.
Except like all of these clampdowns, it came after loads of people had arrived from South Africa who weren't actually tested before they came into the country.
Of course. So much of this is symbolic flailing about. Most notable of all, of course, the renewed decision to tell us what to wear. I'm amazed. I find it constantly amazed to be living in a country where the government tells people what to wear and they obey. And for a long time, when people say, oh, we must make laws banning Muslim women from wearing face veils, you can't do that.
Right.
Serious free countries cannot go around telling people what not to wear and what to wear, except basically covering their nakedness for purposes of decency, which is a different thing. But you can't go around saying what kind of garments. It always seems to me to be an amazing declaration of superior knowledge and understanding that we seem to have discovered that the human body, which has functioned reasonably well over many millennia, is inadequate. And we've decided to adapt it. So we can't actually show our faces anymore in public.
But except only in certain places. I mean, you're all right to show them in a pub or
you be careful what you say.
In a restaurant.
if you start saying things like that, then they will start demanding it in pubs. They'll never say, "Oh, the logic's ridiculous. We'll stop making people wear them on trains." Say, "Okay, you're right. It is absurd that we enforce them on trains and don't enforce them in pubs. Let's have them in pubs. Let's have them in public lavatories. Let's have them everywhere you care to name. In bed." Don't try that argument. It will never ever work. It will always lead to worse things.
No, I'm sure that's true. But the difficult part about all of this, though, is you get the sense from that press conference. I don't know if you were able to watch it on Saturday, that it's all a bit of sort of theatre. It's all a bit of show. It's all a bit of, well, we better look as if we're doing something. Because if we don't do anything, there'll be scientists telling us that we should have done more.
But politics is theatre, as indeed is law enforcement and so many other things. We pretend that we have far more control over events than we do have. And also what we see in these events is a Prime Minister who has a reasonable amount of political power, which he derives directly from the population, because unlike most modern leaders, he has a direct relationship, thanks to his television stardom, with millions of people, which gives him a power that his rivals don't have. But on the other hand, there are other people around him who have power. Say, "Oh, well, Prime Minister, if this goes wrong, if the hospitals are overwhelmed again in January and February because you didn't take this decision, then you'll be the one in trouble." And of course, he's afraid of that, and you can see, I think, fairly clearly that the medical power structure was once again bossing the actual constitutional government around, and here we have it. And they will always give way to this because of the fear that it might just turn out this time to be right. The problem with it all is that none of it works. I keep on saying this. It's all available to anybody. You don't need any particular brilliance to see it. The case of Sweden demonstrates beyond doubt that not doing all this stuff doesn't lead to outcomes significantly worse than doing it. And there is a thing called the Stringency Index, which was put together, I think, by Oxford University, in which they rank the stringency of shutdowns by all nations. And you set this beside the deaths per million, and you will find no congruence at all. It doesn't actually have a bearing on the outcome. And yet we continue to behave as if the case for shutting down society is proven that it will work. Even if it in short terms, I imagine if you have a Chinese type system where you actually weld people into their homes and possibly strap them to their beds and tell them not to move, you might prevent the transmission of disease for a little while, but it will only postpone it. Because
but I mean, we saw even in New Zealand, right?
Even work.
But even in New Zealand and Australia, where people were literally not allowed to go anywhere for weeks on end, even that didn't result in zero COVID, because there is no such thing as zero COVID. And with regard to the mask wearing, in places like Scotland, where they've been wearing them for a lot longer than we have, it doesn't appear to have made any difference. If anything, it's made it worse. Same in Germany, same in France, same in Spain, all of the places which are now suffering. Same in Austria, it doesn't appear that any of these measures have actually helped them.
Well, this is the problem. And of course, we also now get word from South Africa that those cases of the, oh my gosh, variant, which have actually come to the point of the patient developing symptoms, there has not so far, and let us hope this remains the case, not so far been any sign that it's particularly serious. In fact, less so with people not suffering that rather unpleasant symptom of COVID, of losing their senses of taste and smell. So I don't. But I just think this is a constant. This link has been made in the minds of humanity between staying safe and taking this sort of measure. There are, in my view, much more intelligent, much more proportionate measures which a civilized society could take to keep this disease under control. And also, it could revise quite seriously its methods of measuring its prevalence. I think we are very lax in the ways in which we record its prevalence and describe its scourge, because we've set our measures in ways which make things seem very much worse than I suspect they are. But I only say this because it's a duty. To say it, because it's true and I believe it to be true. I know that the argument has been lost. Most people prefer safety to reason, and they think they're safer if they follow these arguments.
Mr. Graham?
Yeah, hello. James, how are you, mate?
He's not all right. Very good, Michael, apart from your continual harassment and bullying of Meghan and Harry.
Listen, mate, somebody's got to stand up for the workers, and that's what I'm doing, because, of course, the only bullies in this conversation are actually Meghan and Harry. It's been said, it's been written in, the top newspaper.
When did you become so left-wing? When did you become a unionite standing up for the workers? What on earth are you talking about?
I've always been a great supporter of the royal family, James, as you well know. And, I mean, I can't remember what you've got this week because you change it so often.
I've never changed it at all. I have never changed it at all. I was a royalist and have been all my life. When they treated Diana appallingly, I became a fan of Princess Diana, and I thought they did then what they are doing now, and they should be ashamed of themselves. What
exactly did they do to Meghan and Harry, apart from welcoming them with open arms, paying for their wedding, giving them a free cottage to live in, and supplying them with hot and cold running butlers and servants that she could abuse morning, noon and night?
Well, you talk about abusing, yet nobody has any proof of this. I'd like to talk to the person who says it. And I don't want to be... Listen.
Have you not seen the email?
I don't know where that came from. I don't trust anything I see in the media. I don't trust a thing. I only trust what comes out of my mouth. That's all I trust.
That's a pretty disgusting thing. I mean, some of the things that go into about are pretty disgusting as well, but that's not what we're here for, is it? I mean,
you have never seen what goes into my mouth unless you've been looking at a time I have not given you permission to look.
Listen, you know that I used to straddle Fleet Street like a behemoth. You have no idea what I've seen. I've seen an awful lot of things that
I know you used to straddle a lot, but listen, this is the point, This is just bullying on you and your friends from Fleet Street's part. You are. You're bullying this poor couple.
Why do you not understand what Ash does understand, that these two, right?
Ash understands with whoever's buying him drinks. That's all Ash understands.
Ash is a very fine man, and I have great support for Ash's view on this one. He thinks that these people could be committing treason.
I think so.
I think you may well be right. These two have lived high on the hog. They've taken money. Do you know that Prince Harry has never paid tax in this country? Do you know that?
Yeah. Doesn't surprise me.
I do know that, yes, and I don't think you'll find many of the royal family have paid tax either.
The Queen does.
Right.
But he hasn't earned any money, really, in this country, and I think you'll find that when he was paid as a member of the British Armed Forces, he would have been paying tax like everybody else. So you're just making it up, Mike.
But he had 30 million. They had 30 million quid.
How much do you think he was paid when he was in the army?
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
You've got no facts at your disposal.
He probably wasn't paid when he was in the army. It probably went to charity. But the fact is...
you don't know, though, do you?
I've no idea. No, of course I don't. Do you?
You can't just make sweeping statements. I believe he
that's all you're doing.
He was in the army.
You've never met him. You've never met Meghan. You've never met either of them.
No, I have not met them. I don't need to meet them. There's lots of people.
No, you just listen to a load of twaddle, don't you? And then you bully them on air.
Well, all I can tell you is this. There's only one form of bully, and those are the ones that have been reported for bullying. I have not been reported for bullying. However, Meghan has been, and so has Buckingham Palace now confirmed, which is a very serious matter, by the way, James. I'm surprised you're not standing up for the working men and women of this country.
As you say, you don't fancy a drink today.
Well, I do fancy one, but I will not be told when I can start. I remember quite clearly the last time I went into a pub. And I went up to the bar and I bought a drink, which I believe is still impossible.
Yeah.
And I don't really think that a thing like buying a drink at a pub is something you should listen to the government about. It's not for them to tell you when you can or when you can't do it. So I'll do it when I feel like it, not when they tell me.
Yes, no, it's interesting. I was walking today through London Bridge Station on a route that I don't normally use. And the number of signs struck me today for some reason. Don't do this, do that, walk here, don't walk there, wear a face covering, be kind, wash your hands. Breathe in, out,
breathe out.
Left
There's a wonderful one
forward.
I saw the other day at Reading Station, which was take care while minding the gap.
It is, but
you'll be so busy thinking about, shall I mind this gap this way or that way, that you forget to take care, and you fall into the gap anyway.
Too busy reading the signs to see the train coming and then miss it.
What did you do in the coronavirus war, Daddy? We followed arrows in a pub.
But that's it. Then there was an announcement that came over. The one where they go, report, what is it? Watch, sort.
Oh no,
see it, sort it.
See it, sort it.
Say it, sort it.
Yeah, which doesn't make any sense at all.
And I thought to myself, this is a bit like one of those science fiction films where you're walking through a public building, somebody's announcing something at you, and everything you look at is a sign, and everyone walking towards you is wearing a mask. And I'm going, When did this all actually happen?
Well, it actually did happen. We are in the invasion of the body snatchers, or maybe in Minority Report, we're in another world. And we all happily walked into it. Well, most of us did. You didn't, I didn't, but here we are. And most people are content with it.
Are we going to walk out of it similarly, though, do you think?
I see no reason to believe so. I think many people enjoy it, feel comforted and are made to feel safer by it. And they will accept a lot of this going on forever. I wonder whether we will ever, for instance, get rid of the face mask.
Well, this is interesting, isn't it? Because my children, my teenage children, have been told this week they don't need to wear one anymore, despite the fact that last week they had to wear one, and so much so that last week they were still trying to force them to wear them on Friday, but Monday it's fine.
Well, this is extraordinary. Mind you, school children never, ever should have been made to wear masks in the first place, and it's extraordinary that they got away with it. But you see it, the thing is, we've discussed this before, walk down the street, see how many people are wearing face coverings in the open air. They've never been told to, the advice has never been to do so.
No.
And yet the numbers probably are increasing. And I think this is a sign that many people welcome this and enjoy the regimentation and the absence of initiative in return for a feeling of illusory but strong feeling of safety.
My favourite was my favourite thing are the drivers in their own cars on their own. With a full face mask on, and there was a picture in the papers the other day of a woman down in Bournemouth swimming in the sea 50 yards out on her own with a face mask on while swimming.
That's good. Yeah. I was walking in some woods yesterday and I sneezed. And a person about 100 yards away heard me sneeze and took a long detour around me.
Yeah, reached that point now. Do you remember when last year you'd sort of wake up and kind of go, I'm not sure, really. I think I need a holiday. Trouble is, I'd love to go away on holiday, but we were talking to Simon Calder earlier. They're making it so complicated that I'm not sure I can be bothered, really.
Yeah, no, I think it's definitely another year for enjoying the delights of home. But it was interesting. I mean, what you were saying earlier, I was out and about in London yesterday, and it did feel like it was back to normal. I went through Oxford Street and and it was quite busy.
Was it? Yeah. That's good to know, actually, because funnily enough, I took a taxi across town from here at London Bridge over to Kensington on Wednesday night or Tuesday, I can't remember, Tuesday night, I think. And it was extraordinarily quiet. You know, the taxi didn't hit any traffic. We only stopped for red lights, which I can't actually remember the last time that happened in London.
No, but no, Soho was packed. They've closed off all the streets. And they've got tables out in the streets, which I think is lovely.
Yes, that is good, isn't it?
Not so great if you're trying to cycle through. Of course, you have to go the long way around.
Well, now you know how we feel as car drivers. The only difference is you don't have to then pay £55,000 to park it somewhere.
Yeah, you're not getting any sympathy from me, Mike.
I would not expect it. Now, let us talk a little bit about Boris, because I think that it's true to say that there was a kind of a dam broken, I think, on Monday when he made his statement, when it was very clear that there'd been a slight change, quite a big change, actually, in the attitude from the government to COVID. You know, along with Sajid Javid saying, I'm the Secretary of State for Health, not the Secretary of State for COVID. It seems to me that the thing that we've been asking for, certainly here at Talk Radio, for a different approach, they seem to be now embracing.
Yeah, no, I think there has definitely been a shift in the tone, and it is interesting, as Boris Johnson said at PMQs, that if Keir Starmer's only objection is that masks should be compulsory rather than voluntary, then there's not much difference between the government and the opposition. I mean, I think he's obviously playing political games there slightly, because public opinion is, as I've always said to you, Mike, is much more cautious. And I'm not sure that Boris Johnson is actually carrying everything before him. I mean, there are signs that the polls are narrowing. Boris Johnson's personal popularity is going down. I think we're beginning to see the end of the vaccine effect and a return to politics as normal, which will come as a great relief to Keir Starmer, who was really under a lot of pressure before the Batley and Spen by-election.
Well, it may come as a great relief to him, but he seems to be continuing with his policy of choosing the wrong horse to jump onto every single minute that he does something, because on Wednesday at Prime Minister's Questions I thought he was hopeless, banging on about, what are you going to do when 100,000 people are infected? Well, I'll tell you when 100,000 people are infected every day. I mean, there's no reason to believe that that's going to happen. What are you going to do to stop people deleting an app? Well, probably nothing, actually. How do you stop people deleting an app if you're the Prime Minister? What do you want, people arrested for that? You know, I mean, he was absolutely barking up several wrong trees, an entire forest, in fact.
Well, you mean you don't agree with him?
No, he's talking rubbish. There is not 100,000 infections going on every day. We've got up to 32,000 so-called cases at the moment, which is just a recognition that a lot more people are testing positive. It doesn't mean that there's a massive crisis. He also agrees with the lifting of all the restrictions, apart from mask wearing.
Well, yes, and a few other sort of details about ventilation and paying people to isolate. Yeah, I mean, you're absolutely right. But the 100,000 infections a day is a figure that Sajid Javid gave, and it's a reasonable question to ask. And he's put himself, Keir Starmer, has put himself on the side of public opinion against...
No, he hasn't. No, he's put himself on the side of YouGov public opinion, which is not quite the same.
No, but... no, he's put himself on the side of public opinion and against... talkRADIO and Mike Graham, but I mean that's unfortunately for Keir Starmer, he's the bloke that doesn't get anything right, and we are the fastest growing radio station in the world. So you know it's up to you which side you want to pick. But I would suggest to you that Keir Starmer is on a loser. Well, we shall see about that. I don't know.
I think
he is going to start to make a bit of progress now because I think the Boris Johnson balloon is deflating slowly.
Really? Why? What evidence have you got for that?
Yeah, opinion polls.
Oh, come on, John. This is all you bring me now is opinion polls.
Well, yeah, but they're the worst way of finding out what people think, apart from any other.
Right.
So
when Ipsos Mori does a poll where they get something like 20% of people who want to shut down nightclubs and casinos forever, I mean, you realise that presumably they've been doing the poll in a lunatic asylum.
No, it is absolutely. Well, this is the point. This is how out of touch with the great British public you sometimes are, Mike.
No, they're not the great British public. They are the cultural elite of London. The people like you hang about with who think, oh, isn't that awful? Who wants to go to a casino full of nasty people and prostitutes? Not going there. And who wants to go to a nightclub? Ghastly people go there. No, those are not the... You know, Brexit should have proven to you that the real people of this country wanted to leave the European Union. The real people of this country want Boris Johnson with an 80 majority because they don't like Labour. It's that simple. So Tony Blair, former Prime Minister of this country, multi-billionaire, bozo, cheat, liar, thinks that if you don't have a vaccination, you're an idiot.
Why is that, do you
What's that got to do with him?
It's got nothing to do with him, and how dare he say that, and how dare he come out with these things. And let's get the facts straight. Right. We've had doctors from South Africa telling us that the Omicron is a very light variant. Mm-hmm. It's what all viruses do. Also, it's contagious, but it's not killing.
So his great warning is that if you don't get vaccinated, you'll get it. And then what? What you mean? You'll get COVID, and therefore you'll have antibodies, so you can then fight the next wave.
And we know that this variant will give you the sniffles. Yeah. It will give you the sniffles.
I've got some news for you, Tone. If you get the vaccination, you'll get it too.
The point
everybody's going to get it.
Everyone's getting. The point is why is this man given airtime? Why have we given him airtime? He is a liar. He has been proved to be a liar.
Yeah. How about the weapons of mass destruction?
Thank you. And he is a bad man. So why would we listen to this bad man?
How about the sexed up dossier, Tone?
Yeah.
How about David Kelly?
All of that.
Eh?
Yeah, exactly.
Thanks for ruining Britain by introducing us to a new form of legal practice, including the setting up of the Supreme Court, which we didn't ask him to do.
Yeah.
And the chock full nature of the civil service run by Marxists, as Peter Hitchens has told us many times. It's all down to Blair.
I know. He is to
blame
for many
immoral
things.
Talk about immoral. Let's talk about moral, shall we?
And also one of the things he did is he tried to get everybody into universities for useless degrees, and now they've got no jobs.
And now all that's happened is loads of people at the top of academia have made a load of money.
Yeah.
And so is he.
Oh, gosh. He
Middle
has
East
made
Peace Envoy.
Tons of money.
How about the Tony Blair Foundation?
Yeah.
Yeah. Get lost, Tony. Go and join Archbishop Welby and take a slow boat to China. Where it came from in the first place.
Exactly.
Anyway,
that's perfect.
How about that?
That's perfectly
Merry
put.
Christmas, Tone. How's Cheryl doing? Oh, sorry, Cherie. I mean, who do these people think they are?
I've no idea. I wish they stopped speaking.
Here I am. I've been appointed the world's spokesman on COVID. And if you don't listen to me, you're an idiot because I know everything. That'll be 150 million.
Yeah, exactly. Right? I would rather listen to Sunitra Gupta.
I'd rather listen to Straight Talk's Christmas special.
Oh, would you?
I think I would. A primary school up in Edinburgh has decided it'd be a good idea to celebrate equality. Now, there are many ways of celebrating equality. You could basically just treat everybody the same. I know that sounds old-fashioned and maybe slightly revolutionary, but you could try it. But that's not what they want to do. Not in Edinburgh, not at the Castle View Primary. What they want to do is get boys as well as girls as young as 3 to go into school today wearing skirts. Let's talk to somebody sensible about this. Belinda de Lucy, former Brexit Party MEP, mother, of course, as well, social commentator. Belinda, very good morning to you.
Good morning, Mike. What a story.
I know.
Mean, can you believe it's real?
Well, I wondered if it was April Fool's Day when I saw it this morning, but apparently it is real, because the most staggering thing about these people who want equality is that they actually don't want equality, do they?
No, this is a movement that is censorious. It is anti-free speech. It wants to erase female language. It wants to push its ideology now onto little children. Listen, no one's got a problem with boys wearing dresses or girls wearing breeches, or that's not an issue here. It's the pressure and the coercion of people to step in line with the gender extremism movement that sort of hijacked harmless trans community that we knew 10 years ago. This is happening in schools up and down the country. Children are being exposed to this ideology, this idea that if a boy doesn't fit a stereotypical butch little boy, he's born in the wrong body and becomes a girl if he wears a skirt. I think it's a dangerous thing to teach children. I think it's very sexist. And listen, if the school wanted to let the boy wear a skirt, fine. My problem is pressurizing other children, and boys especially, to wear skirts to be kind. You can imagine the conversations going on at home. You know, parents are like, son, you need to wear a skirt to be kind. I don't want to wear a skirt. Well, you have to, otherwise the school will brand the family transphobic. This is what I mind about this movement. It is sinister. It requires absolute crushing of debate. It believes debate is literal violence.
Yes.
If you dare to challenge it. And actually children are so vulnerable because they have enough on their plate to deal with. And adults are projecting this weird sort of, I don't know what to call it. It seems a bit fetishy to me at times. They're projecting this mental illness onto children and denying them sex and biology and teaching children to lie and be complicit in other people's lives. It's a very dangerous message to send to children.
Also, isn't it weird that all of these people who are protesting against sort of, right-wing intolerance are so intolerant of everything because they're only tolerant of things that they want to be tolerant of. You know, what if you turned up and said, well, I'd quite like to turn up, dressed as a Russian soldier? That wouldn't be allowed. Oh no, we've got a dress policy here. We've got a code. You can't be turning up, dressed as, a goose or a pantomime dame or anything like that, or an ugly sister, because that's not nice. But you can wear a skirt. Also, it's kind of ironic, isn't it, that it's in Edinburgh where men walk around in skirts on a regular basis.
I was going to say they have the kilts.
Yeah.
I mean, just allow kilts as part of the uniform option. My daughter, at the age of 6, dressed as a boy for 4 years. I mean, trunks and everything.
Right.
We didn't pay any heed to it. We just thought it's a normal childhood thing to experiment, wear different clothes. She just adored her daddy and wanted to dress like him for a few years. The idea
Who can blame her?
Up the school, right? Exactly. The idea I'd call up the school and say, right, she has to wear a boy's uniform. She presents as a boy now, and all the other children have to not misgender her or they get punished. This is what I hate about the movement. It requires punishing innocent people, and children don't have a childhood anymore as it is. Leave them alone. Let them be girly boys if they want, but don't force other children into this weird ideology where they have to pretend someone is something they're not. Right. It's like the George Orwell, 1984, where they say the party's final command was telling people not to believe what they see or hear what they, with their ears. It's a frightening message to send to children. Leave kids alone.
Yeah, absolutely
the
right.
Ideology should be kept for adults.
Because
I didn't even notice the weather on the way today.
Did you not?
No.
It's chilly though.
I was just thinking about the dystopia that's creeping up on us day by day. I didn't even really notice what was going on the way in because the news has been quite consuming recently, hasn't it?
It really has. I mean, when you see all of the rioting and all of the sort of the tear gas and all of the water cannon being fired at people, and you think, why is this happening? And you wonder what it is that's making the government issue these kinds of instructions to their more or less paramilitary police forces to start attacking their own people.
Why is it happening? Well, the Austrian Interior Minister has called out the increasing radicalisation of people who don't want to be vaccinated, anti-vaxxers. And I thought, hang on a minute. First of all, recently you locked down the unvaccinated.
Yeah.
Now you're going to lock down everyone, because just locking down the unvaccinated wasn't going to work.
Apparently it didn't work. Imagine that.
And now you're going to force everybody in the country to be vaccinated. I wonder why. I wonder why there's some radicalisation among the population. What a weird way to twist it round. So I wanted to talk about this today because I've been thinking about this for a while. I've been wondering about writing about it. But the thing is, if you draw comparisons to totalitarianism, you get accused of being too extreme. And, don't mention the Nazis. Yeah. I feel like an episode of Fawlty Towers here. Right. Don't mention the Nazis.
Well, I mentioned it once,
don't mention the Nazis.
I got away with it.
But the thing is, totalitarianism doesn't arrive overnight.
No.
It creeps up on you. And then Lord Sumption brought out a great article in the Telegraph yesterday, and I thought, right, if it's good enough for Jonathan Sumption, it's good enough for me. I'm going to stand shoulder to shoulder with him. Yeah. I think we do have a problem. Look, we don't live in a totalitarian country. This is still a democracy. Yeah. But there are signs of authoritarianism and totalitarianism which are creeping up around Europe, which are very troubling early warning signs I think we need to pay attention to.
I think we absolutely do. Do you know what I think about this government is that this government is less totalitarian since Matt Hancock left it. I think he was quite keen on that sort of stuff. And I think for all the criticism I've made of Sajid Javid in the past, he does at least seem to have a sort of a sentiment of democracy about him. And when he said at the weekend, and I know that we can't always believe everything they say, but when he said, look, we're not going to in any way mandate vaccination. I mean, again, if I'd been Andrew Marr, who I'm not, I would have said, well, hang on a minute. You've already mandated it for people who are in care homes, and you've already mandated it for people in the NHS. And then he kind of addressed that and said, well, that's different. But is it?
No, it's not different. And actually, I'd love to have a big, broad, sweeping conversation about totalitarianism with you, but it's about the individual. It's about the person at the other end. The person at the other end of that metaphorical jackboot. I just published a story in my Substack about a care home worker who's going through the disciplinary process and is about to lose their job. Now, in her case, she's had COVID, okay? And she's got antibodies. Right. Okay, so if this was really about medicine, public health, if it was about science, you could at least let them all have antibody tests, okay? And anybody who's got antibodies doesn't have to be vaccinated, right? And there should also be religious exemptions.
And do antibodies last? I mean, I know this is not a medical, well, it is a medical question and you're not a medical person, but I don't know the answer to it. Maybe you do. If you have antibodies because you've had COVID, do they stay with you for a long time or a short time or what?
Okay, well, somebody was just saying recently, somebody from the NHS, I feel useless now because I didn't catch a note of the name, sorry, but on the BBC saying that the reason that we're not going to have such a big wave this winter is because we have so much natural immunity, because we have more infections in the summer.
And we're supposedly ahead of the curve than Europe, right?
So you can't have it both ways. Right. You can't say natural immunity doesn't count in care workers, but we're going to do better this winter because we've got natural immunity. Of course it's got to count for something. Yeah. So anyway, this poor person who has sent me their story and I've published it, they had a breakdown last summer because of the stress of lockdowns, which they described as psychological torture, but they love their job. They genuinely, clearly love their job, looking after adults with learning disabilities, has had COVID, has antibodies, doesn't want to be vaccinated, will have to leave their job. Yeah. And said to me, that's 10% of the Care Quality Commission registered workers who are going to be leaving their jobs. This is decimating an industry. Yeah. And if you look at the overall,
as many as I think 60,000 people. That was the figure I heard.
And what does that do to the overall net benefit of public health? Those adults with learning disabilities in this home, they're not going to have a better quality of care because they're now short-staffed. It won't help them live full and meaningful lives, and they won't be safer.
No. So therefore, you have to ask why again, don't you? Because if they're not going to be safer, why is everybody so convinced that is somehow the answer? Because it's one thing for them in this country to nudge us, and you've talked about the nudge unit many times about, if you haven't been vaccinated, please go and get your vaccine, please go and get your booster, it's the best thing you can do, la-di-la. That has turned from a recommendation to a suggestion to an order in Austria.
Absolutely, and not just Austria, also Germany has said that they'll mandate vaccinations for everybody. Now let's think about what that would look like. Does that look like people being strapped onto gurneys and forcibly vaccinated? That's all very one flew over the cuckoo nest.
Isn't it just?
Right? Or is it that people won't be allowed to leave their homes, or they will be fined and then imprisoned? My opinion is, if you have lost bodily sovereignty, you've lost everything.
Yeah.
If you don't have freedom over your body, you don't have freedom.
Right.
And so this is a totalitarian concept that the state can exert absolute control over you.
It is. It's like you turning up, as you say, in One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest and being handed your medication and your little cup, and you take the pill and you swallow the water.
Yeah, and you have to, otherwise you get the electric shock therapy.
Yeah.
So the World Health Organization have said this as well. That
and now they've joined in, haven't they?
Yeah, that vaccine mandates should be a last resort when persuasion hasn't worked. But this is missing the point again. If you try to persuade somebody and then they say no, I believe that's where it should be left. No means no.
Well, do you know,
my body,
funny?
my choice.
Isn't it funny? Because that applies in every other case, including in sexual matters. If you say no, that means no. It doesn't mean yes, maybe. Means no. And the same people who would say to you, you must have a vaccination, would defend that as a principle, wouldn't they?
Yes, but no doesn't mean no in totalitarian states.
No.
That's the thing. Let's look at China, where they've had basically compulsory contraception and sterilisation when they had the one-child policy.
Yeah.
And there were also anecdotal reports of forced abortions, even at late stage.
Right.
Okay, so the state had absolute control over people's bodies.
Right.
Now, we're not China. We're a democracy. But what we're seeing is a tipping point in Western liberal democratic countries where the state is saying, actually, no, we do want to have control over this one aspect. But you have to have a line. You have to hold a line. We're in danger of crossing a Rubicon here.
Yeah.
And the most important thing is to protect the freedoms that make being a human worthwhile, that make life worthwhile.
Well, you remember Neil Ferguson saying once in one of his many interviews that at the beginning they looked at what China was doing to control the spread of the virus and thought we'd never get away with that here. I think those were his words.
Yeah.
But then later said, do you know, actually we probably could have done. You know, where people that I know who know people in China were telling me that you would come home from, say, a visit abroad and you would be told to quarantine in your home, and they would literally come and sort of seal up the door, and they'd put a camera on the front, and if you went out you'd get arrested and put in jail.
Yeah, it's a form of medical imperialism, and it's why virologists and medical people shouldn't be in charge.
Well, this is it, and this is a really important point, I think, because we have fallen, or some parts of our society have fallen for this kind of ludicrous notion that because you've got a degree in something, or because you're an expert in something, that somehow you can then therefore dictate to us how we should be living. I'm not having that.
No, and I think that the idea that a mandatory QR code enables your participation in life is something that people should be worried about. Don't forget that when the UK vaccine passport was first revealed, the curtains slipped a little.
Yeah.
And do you remember we saw functionality on there that was nothing to do with vaccination status? There were things like ethnicity, criminal convictions, alleged criminal behaviour. What has that got to do with being potentially infectious and going into a nightclub? Nothing.
Right.
So the app was built with all of this functionality, and that's been the same when we've seen the curtain slip on other passports around the world, and it looks quite similar to the social credit system in China. So like I keep saying, we're not China, we are a democracy, but there are these signs coming in that the state wants to exert complete control over your bodily autonomy. I mean, the other things that are indicative of authoritarianism and totalitarianism are emergency powers.
Yeah.
We still have emergency powers, and they contained extreme powers. Also, the legitimacy of those powers are constantly justified by the use of fear. So the crisis maintains the imposition of these increasing and continuing interruptions to our freedom, and there's been very minimal political opposition. So we're not living under one-party rule, but the opposition has been spineless. Should we call it spineless?
Well, not only that, but quite encouraging of it in the sense that either they wanted it done earlier or harder or longer.
Yeah.
Right.
And there's a suppression of opposition from other quarters as well. You know, scientists, journalists and politicians have been censored, videos have been removed from YouTube. There were Ofcom rules which inhibited the discussion about the public health policy. So when you have that suppression of discussion only in one direction, that's not healthy for democracy either. And then, you know, finally, there's state control over the individual, the state and also the World Health Organization saying, well, we'll persuade you unless you can't be persuaded, and then we'll make you.
Yeah.
A very good afternoon to you, Mr. Michael, as well. I could take to task your last caller, but I'll leave that till I'm on myself. Now, listen, matey,
Look.
as you know, I consider you one of my best friends.
Yes.
And sometimes I do feel that you need to be put a little right.
Is that right?
It's entirely up to you whether you get the vaccine or not, obviously.
Yeah, well, I'll never tell you whether I've had it or not, as well, as you well know.
Yeah, but if you turn up at the Christmas party this year, of course, I know you will have had it. Anyway, I need to talk to you about... Well, you won't be seeing me there. No, because you haven't had it. I need to talk to you about something very sensible and very serious. And
yes.
And please just listen for a moment, because I'm very busy, but I just felt I had to get in touch to talk to you about this.
All right, then.
As you know, I've been for quite some time... I am, by the way, exceptionally keen people get their boosters and everything else with this new variant that I think is going to be a bit of a problem.
Well, we don't know that yet.
Well, we do know that, because the people who are sensible within the world of medicine feel that it would be a very good idea. I'm just off to see my oncologist. I'm not looking for sympathy or anything. I'm just telling you what it's about.
Yes.
And I have been told that I would be incredibly silly not to make sure that I am up to date with all vaccines for COVID.
Well,
now, not everybody on chemotherapy.
You are one of the only people, James, that I would advise to do so, because you are in a vulnerable position.
Not every form of chemo, okay, is good to have this vaccine with, but most are. Now, what I haven't done and what I haven't been prepared to do until now is wear a mask, because I didn't really think it did very much good in it. You know, and if I wanted to, I could play I have underlying medical health problems and I don't need to wear the mask, which I'd done.
Right.
But with the new variant, until they know how likely it is to spread, how contagious it is, Lady W and I have decided that we will, in crowded places that haven't been properly checked...
You're not going to wear one in the house, are you?
Of course I'm not going to wear one in the house. I'm not going to wear one walking down the street. Well, unless I was walking along Oxford Street during Christmas shopping, I might.
Very busy in Oxford Street at the moment, I have to say.
Yeah, but I think everybody, because of course what you're doing is protecting other people from the germs that you may have, and you don't know, because you don't take the test regularly, whether you have got it or not.
Yeah, but what I do, James, has got nothing to do with you. I don't tell you what to do. You shouldn't be telling me what to do.
Do you know, in a country that is free, people who say what you said, and bearing in mind I love you dearly, it's the most ridiculously stupid, moronic thing I've ever heard. Because no freedoms exist without we all take other people into consideration. If I hear any more of this rubbish about, well, I'm going to do just what I want to do because it's a free country.
Well, why don't you take me into consideration?
So, all I'm taking you into consideration by wearing a mask. And I feel that you should take me into consideration by doing the same. Now, that's all I've got to say.
Yeah.
And if you're not wearing one,
well, listen.
I'm going to still come and visit you in hospital because I do love you dearly.
Okay, then. Well, that's very kind of you to have put so much thought into this, James, and I'm very appreciative of it, as you well know. I really want
to see you at the Christmas party.
I regard you as a very important person, not only as a personal friend, but also as a person on this radio station. However, I believe, as I have said before, that if there is absolute and utter evidence that something should be done, then that's fine. And if there isn't, that's also fine. But whatever people want to do, they can do. I said this morning, if you want to wear a mask, be my guest. If you don't want to wear a mask, that's entirely up to you. And until they make it the law, they can't really insist on people doing it, can they?
Well, they can insist on people doing it, and they're asking people to be intelligent and do it. But if you really want it to become mandatory, like some of the ridiculous countries it has become mandatory in, that is probably what will happen. Because
which have got very high levels of infection, by the way.
And very low levels of vaccination. But if that's what people want to do, if people want to wait until they're made to do something, and only made to do something for the public good, not, just because the politicians want... This is the worst time to be a politician. Why would you want to be a politician when you're having to make so many decisions that lots of the voters are going to feel really aggrieved at?
Well, people
but
are very unhappy.
You have to do what is best for the majority of people in the country. In
Listen,
a democracy,
all I know, James,
you must consider the majority.
All I know, James, is this government has just put a £500 fine on me for going to see my mother in America. 500 quid I'm going to have to find in order to pay for the ridiculous test that I'm going to have to take when I come back. I don't think that's fair, do you?
Yes, I think it's extremely fair, and somebody of your stature shouldn't even complain about it. Maybe it should be made it more easy for people to get the test, but other countries will decide what they want to do before they let you in. And it's interesting, all these people saying, I want freedom to do this, and I'm not having this, and I'm not doing... Well, you wait till the summer holidays come along, and you find that Spain won't let you go there unless you've had all the vaccinations and you have the proof of it.
Well, I haven't.
Or France, or America, or Germany, or anywhere
James,
else.
I have children who are not vaccinated. Why should they be banned? So I can't take my children.
I don't know. You're an intelligent man. I don't understand why you are asking me these ridiculously stupid questions.
Well,
you know the answer.
Well, I do know the answer, and that's why
I haven't called you anything.
Well, you did. You called my show.
No, you don't know the answer.
There is no answer.
You have no idea. You're not medically trained. You have no idea.
Until somebody tells me what the long-term effects of vaccinating a 15-year-old are, I'm not getting him vaccinated. It's that simple.
Well, I hope he doesn't catch COVID. I'm sure he won't. And I hope there are no complications, because a lot of young people have caught it. Most of
his mates at school have had it, you know. Most of his friends at school have had it. But anyway, listen, here's the thing.
He's not going to do it. Down to you. I'm just telling you that you...
James, if you want to advocate wearing a mask, I'm very happy for you. I'm very happy for you to wear a mask, even if it is something...
I'm not happy to wear a mask, by the way.
You're not?
I'm not happy at all to wear a mask, no. Because, I have
sort of mask
underlying health reasons. I will wear whatever the medical mask is that my wife just bought in the chemist. I have no idea, and I will wear them when I need to, but I don't like wearing a mask. But if it is actually the considered opinion of the majority of medical people, as I said, I'm going to see my oncologist. I'll have a word with him.
See what he says.
In fact, I might even do a little interview with him while I'm there, because he gets very aerated about people who don't have the vaccine and people who don't take precautions like wearing a mask and washing their hands regularly when they've come in, because these guys are all working extremely hard. And people might say, well, I don't know anybody said it, or I haven't done it, I haven't seen anybody drop dead in the street. But in the hospitals, they are absolutely jam-packed with people at the moment. Forget just about COVID, heart disease, cancers. I'm supposed to have my regular scan, but it's had to be put off because they don't have the staff and the time to do it at the moment. And there are lots of things going on that the majority of people don't see. So I am actually decided now to wear the mask in places where I'm going, and I'm going to bump into people I don't know for a while. I am still going to go to functions where wearing a mask, sitting down, having a meal, going to a...
you don't have to wear one in a restaurant, though. You'd be all right there.
No, yeah. But, there are places where you go, and if you go to a football match or something, I would imagine standing around with loads of other people in the bar or in a pub or something, you might want to consider it.
Well, you might want to. Well, James, listen, I'm very happy that you've been in touch. And, like you say, we don't always agree on everything, but you're a very fine man. And let's hope it all goes well.
If it makes you feel better. All right, thanks. But if it makes you feel better, I will come with you to the doctors, because I know you're just frightened of those little pricks, and I will hold your hand while they slide it gently into your arm.
You have no idea what my personal medical situation is, and you'll never know, because I will never tell you, because it is my business and my business alone.
Maybe I shouldn't tell people about mine. That will probably be the best way to go. But since I came out about having cancer and everything else, the amount of people who've been in touch who are in the same situation and have said that it makes them feel so much better. And, did I think having the vaccination was a good idea? And said, for me, yes, it is. You talk to your own medical people. So actually, sharing your symptoms with other people can sometimes be a very good thing for other people.
Yeah, but I don't have any symptoms. What are you suggesting?
When did you have your last medical?
Hey? I'm not telling you that
you're
either.
Obese. When you don't have a medical?
Why would I give you any of my medical information? I'm not giving it to you. Get lost.
There's something you're hiding. I've got to go. I'll see you later. Thank you very much indeed, guys.
Yeah, nice to see you. Go and have yourself a sandwich. What can you tell me about fake news and who you would appoint to be in charge of demonstrating what fake news actually is?
Well, the worst person in the world I could think of to appoint to such an important task would be Meghan Markle.
Yes.
The second worst would be her husband, Prince Harry.
Yeah.
And yet, the Aspen Institute, some sort of organization based in Washington, some do-gooder organization, has indeed appointed the Duke of Sussex, to that job of trying to deal with the scourge of fake news, misinformation, and disinformation. He is a disinformation commissioner, apparently.
He is quite good at that. He puts out disinformation on a regular basis, not only to
but through the prism of his wife.
Yeah, through the world's press, but also through authors, through television interviews with Oprah Winfrey. I mean, misinformation is his bag.
I know, you couldn't make it up.
Literally.
And as Piers Morgan said, if you want to deal with fake news, Harry, start with your fork-tongued Mrs. Mate, which is about the size of it. I mean, for God's sake, this is beyond parody. Satire is dying a death thanks to this ginger bloke over in California and his ludicrously pretentious nonsense about subjects he doesn't even begin to understand because he's too thick.
Yes. I mean, absolutely extraordinary that they have become so unself-aware. I mean, I put a tweet last night saying, how on earth can this couple actually continue to keep a straight face while pretending to be the most virtuous people in the world? I mean, suddenly they pop up in New Jersey helping some Afghan children to speak English. I mean, the Afghan kids have got enough problems having run away from the world's most dangerous religion in the Taliban. Here we are now. Oh, God, now we've got Harry and Meghan coming around to hang out with us. And the dress she wore to that sort of Remembrance Day gala.
The Veterans Ball. Veterans Ball. Entirely inappropriate, I thought. A great big sort of flashy red satin number. It's the Veterans Ball. We're remembering the fallen from the war. I think something black might be appropriate. Yes. Certainly not
with sleeves and shoulders, possibly.
Yeah, you're not going to the Oscars. Unbelievable. Totally inappropriate. It's inappropriate for Harry to be sounding off about misinformation and disinformation. By the way, he doesn't seem to understand the difference between the two. His wife has just had to apologise to the British justice system for misleading it. In other words, she's had to apologise for telling a pack of lies, or in Meghan Markle speak, that means she forgot. I forgot.
Well, let's just revisit some of the other things she got wrong. The claim that the couple had secretly tied the knot in the presence of the Archbishop of Canterbury 3 days before the real wedding was actually denied by the Archbishop of Canterbury. Their wedding certificate later proved that this was a false statement, right? They also had to then make up to everyone for inventing headlines that they proved they had made up, because in fact the headlines were never written. Some of the stuff they said was written by the British press was not. It was written by press in other parts of the world. They've done one thing after another which has been proved to be a falsification of the truth.
Yes, was it in the Oprah Winfrey interview? It was specifically proved they told, I think it was 17 untruths, 17 things that could automatically be proved to be wrong. And this is the woman, Meghan Markle, who says popular newspapers should come with a warning on the cover that they could damage your mental health. Well, she should come with a warning on her inappropriate outfit saying, warning, this woman has a very, very loose relationship with the truth. Anything she says is likely to be a lie.
Yes.
And her husband goes and does her bidding. This couple have proved themselves to be the most ridiculous duo in the history of royal marriages, in the history of all marriages, in fact. It's ridiculous the way they're behaving. It's ludicrous. They've become a parody of themselves, and the whole world is laughing at them.
Yes, absolutely right. I think you get more sense out of Batman and Robin. Now, before we talk to Jerry Hayes, before we do anything else at all, there's something else that I wish to draw to your attention, and it's something that can only be described as very strange indeed. Have a listen to this if you're not watching. If you're watching, watch it.
Hello, everyone. I'm Natalie Gadilla. I'm a Caucasian woman with long blonde hair, and I go by she, her. I'm a product marketing lead here at Microsoft and co-host of the podcast Security Unlocked with this guy.
Yes, that would be me. Hello, everyone. I'm Nick Fillingham. I'm a Caucasian man with glasses and a beard. I go by he, him, and I'm a security evangelist here at Microsoft. We are so excited to be with you.
What did he say he did at Microsoft? Can we play that again? I didn't catch what he said at the end. What does he do at Microsoft? These two people work at Microsoft, by the way.
Hello, everyone. I'm Natalie Gadilla. I'm a Caucasian woman with long blonde hair, and I go by she, her. I'm a product marketing lead here at Microsoft and co-host of the podcast Security Unlocked with this guy.
Yes, that would be me. Hello, everyone. I'm Nick Fillingham. I'm a Caucasian man with glasses and a beard. I go by he, him, and I'm a security evangelist here at Microsoft. We are so excited to be with...
Facilities, what? I don't know. Anyway, he's not... well, he is a Caucasian man with glasses and a beard, but unless you're telling somebody that can't see you, why would you say that? He goes by he, him, apparently. She goes by she, her. And she apparently thinks she's got long blonde hair. I've got news for you. You haven't got long blonde hair. It's not blonde. It's the sort of light brown, mousy colour. Why wouldn't you just say that? I go by she, her. I've got mousy long blonde hair. No. Or just mousy long hair. I'll tell you what. Maybe I should try it. What do you think? My name is Michael Caine. No, my name is Mike Graham. I go by that. Call me Mike, if you wish. Some people call me Concrete Mike. That's outmoded now. That was last week. This week, just call me Mike. Other people call me Archie, because that's actually the name I was given as my first name by my parents, which I've never used. Some people think it's an insult. You can call me that if you want. Don't ever call me he, him, because that sounds like some kind of ancient, I don't know, chant that you might make in the forest when you're trying to rub two sticks together to make fire. He, him, ho-hum, you know, like the giant, something like that. Anyway, what else can I tell you? I am a white man with Scottish heritage. I was born in London. I don't go by he, him, or him, he. Why is it not him, he, anyway? He, ho, ha, hum. I don't know what is wrong with people. Also, by the way, has he not got like a Mohican, this guy? Now, I'm pretty sure that is cultural appropriation. Or cultural misappropriation. I can't speak. Cultural misappropriation, isn't it? You can't have a haircut like that if you're a white Caucasian male with glasses and a beard. And also, you haven't got glasses, you wear glasses, you don't have glasses. I've got glasses, but if I take them off, I don't have glasses on anymore. So I haven't got glasses, I haven't got a beard, I have got dark hair, I think. I'm wearing a very nice tie, which actually is a Paul Smith tie, which was given to me by somebody whose name I shan't mention. I'm wearing a blue shirt and also a blue jacket. I'm wearing some boots, some socks. I'm not telling you what else I'm wearing. So, I guess, does that mean I can get a job at Microsoft?